What's up, y'all? So today's video is about why your nervous system is the key to your abundance. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is because recently I had done some research on the nervous system and what it was about. And I was blown away with how much the nervous system controls and enables us to feel, process, and digest in our bodies from a mental to spiritual level and on a daily to long-term basis. The nervous system is probably one of the most important parts of our body. And so in this video, I'm gonna first break down kind of the background on it, the cool science on it, and then we're gonna get into specifically why it is the key to your abundance and unlocking that abundance. So first thing first that I found out about the nervous system is that it is essentially the command center of your body. Similar to the CPU unit in your computer, it processes and controls all sorts of relaying of information and signals throughout your body. It's made up of your brain, your spinal cord, and your neurons and nerves. And it works by sending messages or electrical signals between your brain and all other parts of your body, from your neck all the way down to your tippy toes. I just want to talk first about the stats. You have 100 billion neurons in your brain right now at this given moment. And to be clear, 100 billion of anything is a lot of stuff. And so the idea of you having sort of a universe of soldiers within you, and that is just one part of your body. It's not the stats on your thoughts. It's not the stats on the amount of ligaments and tissues. Those two are staggering numbers. But your neurons alone are in 100 billion range, are in the 100 billion range, and dispersed throughout your body to then enact and send these signals on behalf of your nervous system to allow you to, I'll get into it, signals that tell you to breathe, to move, to speak, to see, to feel the complex processes of your thoughts and your memory. It automatically controls areas of blinking, sweating, blushing, and your stress responses as well. And it also regulates the way you move, your sleep, wound healing. So when you get a cut, the nervous system controls how it heals, infections, all that. Your heartbeat, digesting, and things like aging and puberty. So these sort of hormonal processes and changes that are very important and integral to being a grown human being. So the nervous system is essentially that bitch, because your nervous system is essentially the headquarters of your entire body, from not just a physical plane, but also to a spiritual plane, a mental plane, and also in worst cases in terms of diseases as well. Some of the diseases, I have my notes here, some of the diseases that are connected to your nervous system are Alzheimer's, cancer, epilepsy, cerebral palsy, strokes, paralysis, and many more. And so when the nervous system is impacted in a very severe or chronic way, it can manifest in the forms of these diseases as well, especially as you get older. The nervous system is such an integral part of how you interact and embody yourself in this world that any sort of little thing, from the daily things like, say maybe you didn't get sleep that night and so you're feeling a bit more cracked out than usual, that is your nervous system being impacted, to more chronic things in terms of these more severe diseases as we talk about with strokes, cancer, and the like. Your nervous system really is, to not be redundant, but the heartbeat of how you interact with this world. And so with that being said of what is the nervous system and why it's important, the reason why it's the key to your abundance is, number one, it aligns your mind, your body, and your energy. Like I talked about before, breaking down all the ways that your nervous system kind of just controls you and controls all the major parts of you. When these things are out of alignment, it can severely impact the amount of flow or connectivity to the world around you that you have. It can make sort of shadows appear when there aren't any and make you feel a sense of disembodiment within yourself if it's not healthily processing the daily thoughts, information, senses, and physical impacts that you're experiencing on a daily basis. When you align your nervous system, it creates effortless flow and really allows you to be in a state of connectivity with the world around you. And so by having it in alignment, it really allows you to be in a state of power within yourself that, if you haven't really experienced on a consistent level, can really change the way that you perceive your goals, your dreams, and the possibilities that exist for you in this world. Number two, stress and trauma affect the nervous system. And the reason why that impacts it being a key to your abundance is that the nervous system also regulates your stress. So that's one of the automatic processes that it controls as well. And so if you don't have good, tangible ways to digest the daily stressors that you might experience in your life, or unblock the old stressors that you experienced when you were younger. And it doesn't have to be necessarily mental and emotional. It could be a car crash. It could be maybe you fell very hard when you were roller skating. If these things are shadows that you keep with you throughout your life, they are almost similar to if you're driving to work and you have a car accident that's in the middle of the road. Not only do you in the moment have to work your way around that vehicle, but you know that when you check your maps on the way to that destination, it adds an extra 20 to 30 minutes to your route time. And so the same way that car accidents can impede your ride to work, are the same way that these stressors and traumas can impede the way that your system flows to other parts of your body, the way that energy flows to your heart, the way that movement is more fluid. These things can be made more rigid if you have these mental and physical stressors and sort of constrictors existing in your mind, your body, and your soul. So by really handling these areas, it allows your nervous system to process more regularly and more efficiently throughout the various ways, because it isn't just working to the mental aspects of yourself, but your nervous system controls how you feel, how you see, how you breathe, how you blink. And so if these things aren't made more fluid and more easily systemized, easily processed, it can really, on a daily and more long-term level, impact how you live your life. Oh, and one big thing that I wanted to mention, in the earlier part where I talked about the physical diseases that can be impacted or created by a dysregulated nervous system, like paralysis, stroke, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's disease, I believe that there are also spiritual diseases that also emanate as well, or spiritual/mental that emanate as well. These things can be things like survival mode, scarcity mindset, being in fight or flight, self-sabotaging, low self-esteem. I believe areas like these are spiritual diseases connected to the nervous system, just as real as cancer, Alzheimer's, and having a stroke. And though they may not be as physically demanding or evident, that you can probably go to a doctor for, well, you can go to a therapist and psychologist, but it might be something that might seem more easily dismissible. But these things are just as important and potentially harmful, potentially derailing of diseases as these physical ones as well. Because having low self-esteem might impact the choices that you make for your life, the type of relationships you believe you deserve, the types of mentors, friendships. It also might impede you from when you have moments of growth and you have the opportunity to develop past yourself. If you have limiting beliefs, if you self-sabotage, these things can impact you from living a life that then can add more stress, more trauma, and then lead to these physical diseases as well. It's all a cycle that connects. And so by really handling these areas of stress and trauma, and it doesn't have to seem as big as maybe trauma might seem. It can be small things as well. But by handling these areas inside you, it really allows your nervous system to achieve that flow that I'm talking about and process the daily stressors and stuff in your life a lot better. Number 3, your state of being shapes your reality. So I have my notes here. Your nervous system dictates whether you see the world as full of possibilities or filled with threatening figures all around. Abundance starts with shifting how your body reacts to the world. So I think Gandhi was like, be the change you want to see in the world. And I love that quote particularly because of the way that, just like I said earlier, in your brain alone, there are 100 billion neurons, 100 billion electrical soldiers that are being deployed, even without you consciously choosing to do so, to make sure that you can do things like this, that you can breathe, that you can see, let alone being able to process the deep, complex thoughts and memories that you might have from when you were a kid all the way up to what do I want to eat today. The idea that you have that in your power to change can, I think, really revolutionize. He
had the word in front of him and said some whole other shit. He said the cosmetology's what, nigga? Slow down.
The word is fucking me up. It really changes the paradigm of how controllable your reality is on an everyday basis. If you control your nervous system and you regulate it better, if you understand it and see the daily stressors in your life and work to remove them, or at least decrease the intensity of how it impacts you. If you do daily habits, which I'll explain later, of ways that you can better process your nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system, these areas that can create fight or flight, survival mode, scarcity mode, things that can then impact how you make money, how you see yourself in the world, the goals that you set. All these things are then changeable by you merely understanding and better embodying the state of your nervous system. You know, oftentimes we look outside of ourselves to feel like we have to change the world to then change the feelings within us. We have to get a certain thing. We have to access a certain social group. We have to achieve a certain goal and prove to certain people to be able to feel at peace within ourselves. But I think the idea that within your nervous system alone exists multi-universes that you have at the tips, literally the tips at your fingertips, to be able to control, to hack, to be able to move around. That then impacts the physical reality. So for almost, in some ways, internal work can be harder than physical work because you can't run away from yourself. It's a lot easier to say I'll buy a car and that will heal me than to say I have to heal with what is within me to then change how I perceive the world. But I also do think in the long term, it's the more important, and it has so many exponential returns that it's almost half the price for 3 times the output, right? If you control this, you control everything around you. This world is essentially a holographic universe. It really is based on perception and subjective beliefs. And so if you can sort of master your nervous system the way you would a wild horse, it allows you then to enact and control the external reality around you without even having to touch it. And if you do have to touch it, it's so much easier because you're in alignment. You don't realize how much natural or easier it is to attract things that are for you and to have your intuition working to be able to discern what is or isn't for you when all of this is in alignment. Just like I said in point 1, creating that flow within yourself on a consistent basis just makes you feel sleeker within yourself. You feel more at home, you're calmer, you have mental peace, and you can breathe a lot easier. And if you can breathe a lot easier, you know exactly, it's no different than seeing the tire pressure light come up in your car. Because you have these different processes and systems and diagnostics ready to go when things shift, you can automatically know and have so much more efficiency to be able to problem solve in your life when you know exactly where it's coming from because you understand yourself. So the last thing I want to give to you before we go is specifically the ways that I feel are best to regulate your nervous system. So one of the ways that I recommend is breath work and or meditation. So breath work and meditation, I believe, are they're almost sister benefits, but they use the same aspect of air and breathing, but for 2 different reasons. I believe like breath work, particularly focusing on breathing well, nasal breathing, even taking time to sit in silence and breathe to yourself, really helps clear up your mind. But I think the most important process into it is really controlling the energy and state of your nervous system. Air is such a powerful element to help regulate energy and really can control or ramp up the energy inside you as well as calm it down. I'm reading a book, which I'll put here, called Breathe. I forget the author's name, but I'll put it up there. And it's such a cool book because it really breaks down the science of the nose, which is very much underrated and sort of lost science and art and history of the importance of how breathing through your nose really allows you to regulate your blood pressure, your heartbeat, your sense of calmness, even physical things, your jaw, the strength of it, your sense of self, your mind. Breathing is such a free luxury that you can embody that is as important as buying the healthy water and getting the organic material for your clothes and working out. Air is such an underutilized way to really process and elevate the quality of your life, and we don't realize it because we're not really taught its importance. And so alongside that, meditation, which I think still utilizes air, but more as a focus point to clear out the clutter of your thoughts and your emotions to bring clarity. And so you see the different focuses where one aspect of breathing is to kind of calm down the more nervous system aspects of yourself, the parasympathetic, that word is fucking me up, the parasympathetic aspects of yourself, as in your fight or flight response, as in sort of the purification of the systems inside yourself. Meditation really allows you to clear your emotions and your thoughts, at least for me, in terms of bringing that mental clarity to be able to exist and embody your mind better. It allows you to focus on your daily work better, have better focus, period, and really allow you to regulate your emotions and be calmer to make better decisions. And so I think if you wanted to do something immediately today without having to do the other stuff on the list that I have, which is like maybe you go to somatic therapy, you do shadow work, or you build competence in a skill, meditation and breathwork you can do it for 3 to 5 minutes and probably instantly see the benefits right away, let alone if you do 10 to 30 minutes, which rather than watching TV, an episode tonight, try doing meditation and see how it benefits you. Because even if it may not be the long-term benefits of meditation that can really impact you, you'll just instantly feel the calmness in your body and allow you to really do your daily work a lot easier and more efficiently. So some of the other ways, just to keep it more succinct: visualization to reprogram. I have another book that I'm going to talk about in another video that I call Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which is based on that book title by Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. And it's a really great book to talk you to, almost similar to psycho-cybernetics, to really explain the concept of how to reprogram your mind. So one of the more interesting experiments that I took away from that book was this idea of a science experiment around push-ups. And what it was essentially trying to prove was that your mind cannot distinguish imagination from reality. And that is such a useful asset in your favor if you're trying to rebuild yourself. And this is the reason why. So they had 3 groups. They had group A, which was going to do physical push-ups, a set and rep of maybe 3 sets, 8 reps. They were going to do it every single day for a month to see the physical changes. Group C, right, didn't do anything at all. They did not do physical work nor mental. And group B did only mental push-ups. They would visualize the exact same reps and sets as group A, but they would only do it mentally. So they examined these guys. I forget how they specifically did it, but they measured like the muscle growth, whatever they were before and after the 30 days. And so at the end, they compiled their results. They said group A, obviously by doing physical work and doing push-ups, achieved a level of growth, right? Let's call it the more stable result. They achieved a physical result that we expected to do physical work with. Like if you work out, you're gonna gain muscle or gain strength, right? Group C obviously did not experience anything at all because they had no change and they were static throughout the entire experiment. Group B had up to 80% of the physical changes as group A by just mentally doing the exercise. So what does that show you? It shows that even just by mentally rehearsing the work you need to do, your body takes it as real and then reflects those changes in your physical body even without you having to do physical work, which I would say even shows that your mind and your emotions are the basis for any physical change rather than the other way around. I think your physicality, though, gives you that access put to create that cycle. But really, if physically you're gonna get the benefit, if you're mentally and physically doing the work, you're gonna get even double the benefit because they work in tandem. So this is all to say that by mentally rehearsing the ideal self that you want to embody and also then working in those actions, you know, if you wanna be a more calmer person, you would then think and look for proof and examples of people who are calm and then try to act like that. No different than as a child, when you're playing cops and robbers, you're only 6 years old in school in recess. But children have a great ability to be able to really embody mind, body, and soul in whatever they're doing. That's why I think up to a certain age and below, that's why it's easier for kids to believe in Santa. A lot of belief systems are made in those times because it's hard for us to distinguish between reality and imagination. We're closer to the natural state of our mind than as we get to an adulthood and we have critical thinking, you know, we kind of get a little bit disillusioned with imagination and we can kind of separate the two realities. But if you look at science, even the CIA has released a report saying that the world is a holographic universe, which shows that if you think more like a child in terms of your imagination, that's actually the more truer way of thinking than to think in terms of a physical reality. Because really, the physical reality is actually more imaginary than your imagination. It's more of a child of your imagination than it is the mother as we usually think. You know, they usually say, now's the time to put away childish things. But if you look at, say, biblical mythology, even Jesus said, you have to think like a child or embody the heart of a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. So that's more esoteric stuff. But it goes to show you that visualization is such a key important part to regulating your nervous system because your nervous system and your subconscious mind are like children. So whatever you feed it is what it believes. So make that work in your favor and embody and visualize an ideal self for you. And that can be as simple as just wanting to feel more peaceful inside, just wanting to feel less scared. It doesn't have to be super big, like you want to be a certain type of person and you have this big 10-year goal. It can be as simple as I want to be calmer on a day-to-day basis. I want to be more comfortable engaging in a certain type of conversation. You know, even if I want to, you know, some people, they can get nervous calling people to book an appointment on the phone. That can be a way that you embody your nervous system and visualize a more confident, competent you. Moving on to the last 2 points. The other one is getting professional help. whether it is a therapist, a psychologist, it can even be a physical therapist if you have physical ailments that are affecting your nervous system, or doing shadow work if you find that maybe getting therapy or a psychologist right now isn't financially feasible for you or not something you want to do. Shadow work essentially does that work with yourself, where you can look up shadow work prompts and really ask deeper questions of yourself to really get into the core of yourself to see if there are any chronic stressors or trauma that you might have that are older that you might need to release or remove in order to really flow into your nervous system better. It's essentially kind of like more deeper meditative work, but really kind of focusing on this question to be like, is there a certain memory inside me or a certain physical or emotional memory inside me that is kind of holding me back or keeping me static in an older me? One good question that someone can ask is like, when you find a limiting belief, you can ask, how old is that belief? How long has that been there? And almost like taking out a tick, really doing the work to remove it from you and understanding and asking these questions of yourself. Because anything you might have experienced in the past is no longer you. You don't live in that reality anymore. And so the best thing for you, if it's a belief that doesn't work for you, if it's a belief that is constricting you from being in a reality that you want, is really learning how to, again, break the habit of being yourself and embody a you that fits the you that you want to be right now. Because everything is subjective. I think Assassin's Creed says it, nothing is true, everything is permitted. Because we live in a reality based off of how we personally see the world. So the last one I would say that I think is also very accessible if you say can't get a professional help, or maybe you want to have something that's a bit more actionable, you don't want to just sit still, is build competence in areas that you're nervous about. So say for instance, let's do the example of someone who's nervous driving. A good way to then kill that sort of static in your system is drive more, but maybe you get more driving lessons. Even if you have your license, you might just do it again to really test and work through the areas that you're more uncomfortable with. Maybe it's highway driving, maybe it's intersections during rush hour, and finding ways to really live in the state that you're nervous in and reprogram how you feel about that. One thing that I say that I think is actually a really cool slogan is that knowledge kills ignorance. And so I'll leave it here to say that the really dope thing about the nervous system is that it is such a powerful system. Again, 100 billion neurons exist in your one mind alone, and they exist for the sole work of embodying and sending signals throughout your body to make you move, breathe, think, process, feel, and really live in your reality. And so in the same way that Gandhi says, be the change that you want to see in the world, if you really embody the internal universe you have within you and learn to rebuild and reconnect with your nervous system, you really unlock the key, have the key to unlocking the abundance within you and then changing your external universe as a result. You then become the change that you want to see in the world. So I hope this was helpful. I think this was a pretty cool video. I think the nervous system and just understanding the human body, I think from a scientific perspective, can help ground you in the work of doing things more emotionally and physically, or emotionally and spiritually inside yourself. So I hope you have a great day, and peace.